Let's hear it from the dead man walking. I'm going to answer Massey's question for you. The answer is really simple. It's in fact very simple. The party is a cult. It's not that hard, guys. We just live in the incultified times of the modern day. It is disgusting and gross, but you know, at least the abuse is no longer centralized to the monoliths of the Catholic Church or any of these other massive institutions that preyed upon weak people for hundreds of years. Where do you think the Catholic Church got all that gold? It wasn't just donations, tithes, a little more than that. Some people were whitewashing their sins, doing this thing called the selling of indulgences or the buying of indulgences. And this was a thing you could do to ensure your place in heaven once upon a time. Back in the day, way, way back in the day, you might have been all kinds of a terrible, evil monster of a human being. Similar to, some individuals that Massey was ousted by, outspent by, outspent by, disavowed by his party because he is a lowercase r Republican and not a MAGA mofo. I don't know. And this is just where this episode is going to be. It's a modern day look at the cults writhing through our country right now. And we have a lot of cults on a lot of different levels. It's going to be interesting to see how many of these cults just sort of decide, you know what? It doesn't matter anymore. I am going to be evil. And they can then, in doing that, really do whatever they want. But more specifically, it's the way that we have, I think, layers of cults nowadays. Most of us are existing in our community, our whatever, and, what our local cults are doing is completely outside of us. I live in California, where it is very apparent the cult mentalities, mostly because you see such a stark difference between people that are devout Maha or devout MAGA, people who would be heretically devout woke people. And that whole cult and the way it infiltrated all levels of Los Angeles, and in my opinion, sort of destroyed the American heart and soul of movie making, because it turned every movie into some sort of political tribal signal. As I saw the Content Machine put out, I thought this was actually a funny take, that, hey, tribalism is a natural part of human nature. It's okay to just get it out while you watch sports. Sure. And another person, and I mean, I've had this thought too, as I sit here and rattle off about how the Goyim and all these things with, the Trump people and whatever else. It's kind of an unfortunate reality when you see a lot of how people are, that we need government. That, in my personal view, like an anarchic shift towards some deinstitutionalizing and or reinstitutionalizing or reinstating institutions that we workshop in a modern day, in a modern way, without the antiquated beliefs of the, I don't know, reptilian pedivores that are basically running our country and many of our current institutions. It has always been the cat and mouse game of society and people, that we need to cull certain things because they are bad, and the people that are involved in them are also bad and might need to be culled. We have moved away from such thing because of social media and the civilized way in which all the world works. And just to answer that, why social media did we move away from this? And it's because, well, uh, look at the way Israel was like, we need some of these people to just be culled, and we need to do it our way. We don't like that. It's pretty gross to most people of modern sensibility, and it's something. We'll check out these strawberry woods. Although this look like persimmons. Persimmons, yeah, those are strawberries. So according to Joseph Campbell, there's a couple different types of religions, and two of the different types of religions that are most prevalent for us in this conversation on this podcast today is institutional religions and naturalistic religions. You could say goddess, divine feminine religions are a third set, same with certain divine masculine cults, all these things. And I would even argue that Satanism or other types of kind of antithetical counterculture religions, where the antagonist of a larger religion essentially is celebrated, put forward as a individual of Gnostic learning, and really it's just populated by a bunch of people that have like traumatic wounds from growing up in Christian households and Christian societies, where they were told, hey, you like women or you like men, and that's the same thing that you are, well, you should die and burn in hell, and I'm going to aid your ticket down, down, down. We're like, realistically, we are kind of moving past that slowly. Sure, I know some people get hate for whatever they're doing, and I'm sorry you live in the Midwest or the South. Come to the coast. It's a little easier here for those of you. And one of the toughest parts, and this is a thing that I had to recognize as a mystic and the training and things, is a lot of people are like not really capable of living a life without guardrails. They can't bowl without the bumpers. They need the bumpers, or they are going to end up in the gutter. I've had this conversation with religious people, that as someone who's a-religious or non-religious or whatever you want to call me, a heathen, a dirty blasphemer. You can ignore a lot of scripture or dogma and transform it, adapt it to your circumstances in a way that completely whitewash the evil things you are doing, because you're doing the right thing. The path to hell is paved with good intentions. Again, look at the many ways in which Israel is having a field day talking about many of the things that they are struggling with. Like cleaning Palestinian baby brains off their boot heels. I've seen some recent videos of like live streamers that are going on Chat Roulette, and going and talking to like Israeli or IDF people. And yeah, it goes exactly how you think. A lot of these people, it's like, you seem so wildly brainwashed that you just don't understand how this is bad. Or like referring to Palestinian people as just abject animals. And then you watch things like, oh gosh, I don't know. Go to any Dodgers game if you're in LA, Southern California area. Go to any baseball game, and you're going to see a good number of people that literally cannot exist without a massive amount of guardrails, steering, herding, and just basic cattle calls to move them through life. As much as I don't appreciate being called a goyim or a cattle or all these things, I'm also, my mom, when I wanted to join the military, like basically sat me down with tears in her eyes and was like, I'm not even that worried about like you dying. I'm worried about the pain that you're going to inflict on the people of like the family members of the people you might be in combat with or against. I was like, oh, wait. So my own mom is telling me that she thinks I'd be some sort of like fantastic killer, and I'm going to cause tons and tons of problems all over other, desert countries because pew pew, America, rah. It's like, That fucked my head up for a long time. Why? Because it's like, well, huh, huh. I resisted the cattle call, you could say. That was a thing that pushed me away from joining the military. And, hi, Mr. Goat. If you want to come around here, you can come around here, Mr. Goat. Come here. You want to come say hi to the peoples, buddies? You want to come say hi to the peoples? Hi, Mr. Boy. Oh, he's this handsome, handsome guy. You look like a big head. Yeah, that's my boy. That's my goat. Then I got Karma coming in and making an appearance. Hi, Karma girl. Hi, little snoot. Oh, bye-bye, little snoot. All right, well, they're going back to bed. To be a dog and nap all day. That would be nice. So, but that was a moment for me where I was like, oh, okay, great to see my mom thinks like that. How, but also really just self-examining. I have a lot of anger and rage, and looking at the military was one way for me just to like, oh, I could put it all there. Just unload the clip in someone's, general direction and cause happiness to spur through my system. That was a cattle call. And it's not to say that military service is a cattle call thing. I do not think that. But in our current system, one of the pipelines that push people into military service is very much a cattle call. Ask anyone who's been in the military. Don't take my word for it. Talk to people. They will say, yeah, a lot of people basically just get kind of herded into the military, and then they're like, 4 to 6 years, all right, I'm out. Second my contract's done, I am out of here. We are gone. And some people just stay there forever because they're like, wow, I kind of like this herd. It's a different herd. It has different rules and regulations and all that stuff. But as one friend who, he was in the military, Navy, as he put it when he got out, the military is full of people who have bad time management skills and often join the military because of their bad time management. And that hopefully they leave the military with good time management skills so that they can actually achieve what they want. And maybe that's a fail of parenting, maybe that's a failing of whatever, but there's plenty of parents who end up with some sort of knucklehead that they can't really manage. And, worse places, I suppose, to end up than the military. Teach you a thing or two. Show you how to shoot a gun. What I'd encourage as a closet mild hypochondriac, gentlemen, ladies, theys, thems, gays, wash your hands with lead soap, not soap made from lead, but soap that is specifically designed to pick lead up, or the cobalt, or the nickel, or all these other things. Not soap, cobalt, sorry, copper. The copper or nickel or gunpowder, or all these other things that kind of just end up alongside the lead. Not that there's a ton of lead, but again, it's the shooting and then wiping your mouth, or shooting and then eating. And I mean, just a Austin harebrained theory, but I don't think that is, in no small part, is the lead ingestion and intake that military service members and probably police or anyone else that's carrying or shooting weapons regularly probably contributes to a lot of that depression and mental issues and nervous system issues and or other undiagnosed, unspecified aches, pains, ailments. So, your disability is service related. You Caleb Hammer, oh, you don't know. And it's like the disability rating for the military is different than like what most of us civilians would think. We hear a military person has been 100% disabled, and we're like, but they're walking. If you're 100% disabled, shouldn't you be like a fucking vegetable? Like you should be a torso. The only person I know that's 100% disabled is a torso. Or is essentially, like this, like a cricket in their chair. And, some people, yeah, wait, great, But others, it's like, you're looking at this veteran, like, you got all your legs. Your nuts are intact. You have not been disemboweled by some bullet like I was told. How are you 100% disabled? It's like, it's a different rating system. Ignore it. And frankly, give those people that money, in my opinion. If you're going to fleece the government, do so after some military service. You've earned it. Now, a lot of veteran self-delete statistics, I think, are unfortunately more related to lead ingestion than many, many people would like to admit. But that also means that the military would be more culpable for a lot of these issues because they didn't properly inform. Who knows? But also, that said, if you join the military and you think that the Army, the Navy, the Marines, Space Force, the IDF is going to have your best interest, you have joined the war machine. It kills people. War kills people. The military kills people. They don't care that much from some overarching thing about how well you fare. If in the military, part of the thing is they're prepared to let you die or for you to fight and maybe die, definitely kill, for the country. So they're putting you in mortal circumstances. And again, it's not to shit all over people in the military, but it is certainly, you gotta circle a square. Hey, guys, if you join a thing that's like a cartel, basically, and you are shocked that they don't have good health care, they're not in the business of health, my friend. Shocking. Please, if you want good health care, I don't know, become a banker, go become an entrepreneur. You want health care, yeah, be a doctor. Go be a fucking engineer. Then you'll get health care. Go write code, or go get Claude to write your code. At this point, I don't think anyone can tell the difference. One of my lights is about to short out, so I'll be right back. Hold on, gentlemen. Hold on, ladies. But speaking of absorption, this episode is brought to you by no one. Yeah, absorb that, motherfucker. I lost one of my ear thingies. Here we go. Though it is brought to you by the caffeine contained within this red, white, and blue monster, because America is a country I still believe in some fighting for, although we might be some weird Luciferian cult of kinds, according to Kurt Metzger. And frankly, I've come around to the thinking that he has on some of this stuff. But real quick, just another absorption thing that I think is important. Austin's autism theory. Whoa. 'Tis my theory. Nothing but my theory. No one has collaborated this. And in fact, I have not seen anyone really talk about this whatsoever. One issue of autism is a lack of like neural synaptic pruning. Again, not a doctor, not a scientist, podcaster. And I don't even want to be a podcaster. I have to be. I have to do podcasting because blah, blah, blah. And God, I wonder why I don't get many views more than what I get, because frankly, this is not a very good podcast. So I think Big Beauty is far more responsible for the rise of autism than people like to think. Women are wising up to, say, the heavy metals and other forever chemicals, PFAS, heavy metals, like things that should not be going in the vagina, are going in the vagina as a result of tampons and other things. And that's kind of a huge problem. Maybe causing legitimate birth defects. May be part of why the rise of autism is such a thing. As well as why it's so very difficult to pinpoint any single cause. So my dog Goat over there that I was just giving some kisses to, he has like a seizure disorder thing. Not, again, dog, so it's very difficult to diagnose any kind of seizure disorder unless it's grand mal seizures. That's the big ones where they're flopping and tongues out. But no, he was having these weird like neurological tics and issues, and what we eventually diagnosed, thank you Dr. Tasha and all the other veterinarians, Dr. Barry, for helping us out with that one. Shout out, y'all rock. Basically, like a seizure is like a threshold. that different people have different thresholds, or different dogs have different thresholds for seizures. And Goat might have already had a lower threshold for seizures. And then because of things in his environment, one of which being the T-flick medication, flea and tick medication. I've taken too many head injuries. Wear your helmets, children. Is like an ivermectin or an ivermectin close mirroring whatever drug that one of the side effects is it lowers the seizure threshold. And then in the case of Goat, he was eating a lot of grass in areas that I found out were being both like trying to do like naturalistic, hey, let's save the environment, let's bring back all this like natural Southern California habitat and ecosystem, and then they're spraying the fuck out of it with glyphosate. And just like, what are you even doing? You're just wasting a bunch of time and effort trying to do all this like naturalistic rehabilitation or this environmental rehabilitation, and then you're spraying a cancer-causing caustic fucking poison on everything. Just in case you don't know, very few pesticides and toxins only affect the thing that they are supposed, like, marketed for. A pesticide will kill plants. An herbicide can kill pests. It just may not do it as cleanly of a mechanism, but it still has an effect. So then as time goes on, that accumulates, and then it ends up, instead of killing, all the pesticides they're spraying at the glyphosate, it doesn't kill as much as it used to. Stuff gets resilient to it. And then other things like grass bring it up from the soil and put it into their grassy little grass shoots, and my dog eats it, and it also lowers his seizure threshold, or it causes a seizure. And because his threshold was so much lower, it was enough to actually cause that seizure. All right, so you followed me through that. Now let's take that to autism and the big beauty, as well as, you can include things like lead exposure and all this other stuff. Because as it turns out, and according to one gentleman on Instagram, Eric, everything is lead. Eric, everything is lead, something like that. That he goes around and sells test kits, because it turns out lead is fucking everywhere. And because of our reliance on global supply chains through China or India, one of the problems there is they're way too comfortable with lead and birth defects. Just period. You guys think that, like, everyone is like, oh, America's just like China. It's like, just pay attention to, like, David Chang or any of these other people that are exposing what goes on in China behind their great firewall. As I was blowing my cousin's mind last night at my birthday dinner. Yeah, it was my birthday yesterday. Woo, June 3rd. Happy birthday, Austin. And to all my other Geminis out there, talking to who I think has it's either today or yesterday. Another friend is a gay gentleman, or I think at this point he might identify as non-binary, but hey, queer, whatever. We were talking about it, and because I was like, one of the things that kind of fucked me up when I was living in Los Angeles is astrology. For so many reasons. Astrology, I mean, speaking of cults, it's absolutely become a modern-day cult. And especially when you talk to people that actually do, like, the more nitty-gritty star astrology, like the deep stuff where you have to know all these different fucking things and create this, like, big star map, and you need to know exactly when you were born and all these things and where, and you got to get the minutes and the data and the longitude and latitude, and got to be super precise. And then there is the astrology that is on TikTok and social media and newspapers. And, do I enjoy it? Sure. If you're going to tell me anything that is basically, hey, you're cool. Yep. Round 3, fight! Yes, people be coming to the door because we're still technically in the working hours, although it is nice because after about 4 o'clock, the aerospace milling and planing thingy down the way is silent, and that noise hurts my potentially autistic brain. And before you go, oh, Austin's stolen valor autism, I am in a robe, in a cloak, in a essentially padded room, hyper fixated upon propaganda, cult bullshit, and the lies that we are telling each other to make things happen that is so readily apparent. I'm either some sort of genius, or it's my special interest, or everyone else is so violently stupid that they need my middling intelligent ass to shake some booty and, talk about this stuff. Long story short, the TISM, the trooper of the TISM. So you have these cumulative things, like the dog, with beauty. And you got to wonder, all that aerosol that you're spraying, all that makeup. And I've talked to more than a few women about this one, especially considering we're seeing like a rise in birth defects. Huh, that's weird. Aren't we supposed to be the premier country in the world? Why are we seeing an uptick in birth defects? Well, it's probably related to shit like glyphosate that has this cumulative effect in our bodies, or things like the tampons, which are causing problems for a lot of women, particularly the fact that these heavy metals are known to cause birth defects, like lead. Lead causes birth defects. And then the amount of people that say, your makeup made in China, all these things. Do you think those factories, this country, which is kind of just coming out of rural abject poverty since the 1950s, basically, and the Maoist revolution that happened then when 30 million people died because they decided getting rid of the songbirds would mean that there is more seeds for us all to eat. And then it turns out that they were overrun by a plague of locusts because the birds, while eating a small amount of seed, really love to eat the bugs. Whoops. Actions, consequences. I'm sure Mao thought he was very smart when he implemented that. I think he was thinking very, very highly of himself. Fuck yeah, dude. Dust these shoulders off, baby. Pimping ain't easy, but good thing I'm a fucking masterful PIMP. That's what he thought. And then mass starvation happened and people died and they have to eat their dead ones. And it's a whole dark rabbit hole of humanity that most people never want to go down because it's terrible. Totally fine. So herein lies the rub. So you have that cumulative factor thing now happening with beauty, with all the chemicals that go into the beauty stuff. And we really think that all these chemicals and paints and perfumes and aerosol hairsprays, all these things, especially the degree to which women use them, many cases at least 6 times a week, sometimes multiple times a day, reapply, redo this. We think there's been no cumulative effect on all this shit that we're rubbing on ourselves. And this rise of autism might have something to do with it. Oh, but big beauties, that's an industry. It's an industry that's super tied to the petrol companies. It's super tied to the fuckers that do a lot of psyops. Why? Because the same people that market the beauty shit worked in the government. They're the same people figuring out how to make fucking Doritos or this monster as addictive as possible. Literally. Your cell phone? There are engineers and psychologists and psychiatrists that focus and specialize in how do I make this as addictive as possible so that these fucking cattle that we all are finding ourselves being called. Some people are, I think, more cattle-like than others. Many of us are just kind of above the backs of the other cattle, holy shit, what the fuck? No, it's not this bad. It's this bad? It's this fucking bad? What? Holy shit. I'm not even a big trust the system guy and keep going, but I didn't think it was this bad. Ooh, I would make jokes about the reptiles eating the babies. And then it turns out you have a bunch of uber wealthy psychopaths actually maybe eating the cream cheese or the baby jerky. I'm sorry, what? Guys, I'm not supposed to be this right about things. I'm just not. I'm not. Again, I am not supposed to be this fucking correct about so many things that are going on in the world from a macro perspective. I'm just not. But I'm going to wear my hat and I'm going to keep my glasses on because comfort. Although I'm starting to sweat. It's hot in here. We really think that the beauty people have not done some version of that themselves? How do I make this product as addictive as possible, as necessary as possible for me to function in life? And that they have amplified fucking clavicular, that little fucking toadstool. Clav. You know what's funny? Me at, what am I, fucking 35? I'd still mog the fuck out of you, you dumbass. Yeah. Part of me feels bad because you're just like some little retard running around getting more and more retarded. And I do mean that in the legitimate, like the flame retardant sense of the word. As I look at the fire extinguisher, like you're getting fire extinguisher retarded. With all this Botox, all this bone smashing, dude, I have a fine enough jawline. You know how I got it? Fucking getting hit in the face. Quit being a pussy. Go to a boxing class, you bitch. Jeez. It's all about form without function, or function without form. There's no idea in America about form and function. That we should aspire to kind of merge the two of these things. But I'm going to digress. So going back to the big beauty thing and the autism unity, because I don't think it's one thing. I don't think it's just big beauty. I think if it was just big beauty, we would have had a better carrot stick scenario for the cause and effect of why autism is so rampant. Now here we get to the second part of the theory. Ready yourselves. Head injuries. Boom. Head smash. I have a theory that due to autism basically being a improper pruning of certain synaptic functions, among many other things, but that being part of it, that people who are autistic or ADHD or AU-ADHD or any of these various types of neurodivergent caterpillar to butterfly that we have running around our society right now, head injuries. So if you're like me and you're in your mid-30s, you remember the day that people started taking head injuries more seriously, and it was right around that time that that what's it called came out, that movie about the CTE. I think it was called Concussion or Compulsion or something like that. Hey, I've had a couple myself, you know. And when I look at like my brothers, I've had more head injuries than they have. There are certain ways in which they are much more presenting of certain autistic traits than I am. I did go to a doctor, a diagnosing psychologist, to ask that for myself. He basically said, because of the presence of childhood head injuries, I cannot diagnose you, like I'm barred from diagnosing you as autistic. That literally I can't, because we don't know the cause and effect for head injuries and how they affect autism or autism presenting traits. Especially considering I had a real bad one at 24 and got mugged, whole story. One day I'll tell it. That like definitely caused some problems and made me a wee bit more autistic. But also, the cumulative nature of these head injuries has also made me, strangely, less autistic than certain family members that have had very few major head injuries. Like my dear sweet youngest brother, who, PhD in brain stuff because he's a smart lad. Trying to do some real cool stuff, helping people with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. So, I hope that all works out. I think he could do some good for people because he is such smart dude. He had like 2 concussions recently and was like very devastated by him. And I'm not trying to drag him through, but it is funny because I've heard other people now in this modern day where they have a head injury or a minor concussion, and so much of their life just like completely changes, and they're like a different person. They're struggling with all these things, this, that, or the other. And there's part of me that's like, I have had like a medically relevant amount of concussions, and I've had 2 TBIs, doctor diagnosed TBIs. One of them was not diagnosed by a doctor at the time. I told the doctor afterwards. What happened? I was 12, and I thought I could follow my very athletic, tall. I mean, he was like a 6-foot tall kid when we were like 12. He was a really gangly boy. I thought I could follow him through the trees on a black diamond, one of our local ski mountains, and it was a sunny afternoon. So if you know, you know. Sunny afternoons are just when people get injured, especially when it's not that cold. It's like, 30, 28. You get a little bit of ice, you get a little bit of snow, you get a shadow here, boom, all of a sudden now there's ice. And I got locked into some icy tracks in this tree thing, and I went, boom, head first into a tree. Cracked the helmet I was wearing. Knocked myself basically into a stupor. I wasn't knocked out cold, but I was definitely like, oh, for like 5 minutes in the snow before like, you kind of come back to it and you're like, fuck, holy shit, I almost died. Oh, god damn. Taking off my helmet, looking at the crack. I'm just like, fuck, I almost died. Holy shit. You're 12 though. So go down the mountain, walking down the trail because I was so fucking concussed. As they would say back in those days, 20 some odd years ago, 24 years ago. Oh, you got your bell rung, didn't you, buddy? Yeah. So I go to the very steezy lift attendees, and they are like, oh, shit, dude, yeah, we'll ring the medical. Med team comes up, and they're like, oh, shit, dude, yeah. I flash my eyes, little thing. They're like, oh, yeah, dude, you're totally okay. Like, you're fine. Did not even do any of this. They basically just, like, looked in my eyes, which wasn't going to tell you a lot because, 1, I was wearing goggles, and 2, it was a very sunny day out, so like natural pupils kind of dilated and like that, so takes away certain diagnostic thingies. But yeah, I was out. That shit fucking caused problems. So yeah, we didn't have concussion protocol until I was older, and then I've noticed like I've had some friends fall, slip, hit the back of their head or hit their head, and all of a sudden they're getting like medical evacuated to like the hospital. People take head injuries almost too seriously now, which I think, yeah, great. You want to do your due diligence, but also I think people want us to spend money in the medical system. I think we live in this weirdly capitalist juicer where the juice, each one of us is put in the thing, and we're put into society as adults, and we're working, and we're doing the shit, and then occasionally someone just comes along and just squeezes us for everything we are worth, and then some. And we're just supposed to go, thank you, sir, may I have another? Oh my god, thank god I worked so hard and I can afford this $3,000 fucking ambulance bill. Jesus Christ. But, like, back in the day, that did not exist whatsoever. There was no, like, oh, you fell, hit your head. Let's get you a CT scan. Let's get you a CAT scan. Let's get you an MRI. Let's find out if your brain's still in one piece. There was none of that. There was simply, you got a head injury. Good luck. Don't fall asleep. Take it easy. Relax. And meanwhile, now I've read some things where they're like, oh, you had a head injury. Now you're supposed to lie flat in the fucking dark and just sit in the dark all day and just be in the dark and not think. And I'm like, I would destroy myself. There's no way I can do that. None. And not think? How do people not think? Are you already stupid and what? Or am I just beep, 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 beep? I don't know. But what I do know is people, once upon a time, before the modern age, used to get head injuries so much more casually than now. And like I talked to my dad and some of his friends, and they'll like recount times when like, oh yeah, remember that time I got knocked out? And I'm looking at him like, yeah, I believe that. Yeah, I definitely believe that you've had some head injuries, Dad. Definitely believe it. Because certain behaviors, I'm like, whoa, does not make sense unless there's been some neurological damage. No offense, Father. And, you know, some of his friends where they're like, oh, this time that guy hit me over the head with a chair and I just got knocked out and I woke up like 3 hours later, and I'm like, are you kidding me? You're lucky to be alive. And they're like, oh, fine. And I'm like, is that why your life is just turned to shit and your kids don't speak to you? Is it because you have like CTE? Because no one told you that you need to deal with this head injury for like now, and you just didn't deal with it, and you didn't eat well, and you didn't eat the kind of things that like help your brain rebuild itself and your nervous system rebuild itself? Mushrooms are actually very helpful for that. Just a quick tangent. This is not health advice, but functional adaptogenic mushrooms, the reishis, the chagas, the turkey tails, those can be very helpful for people who've had head injuries. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. It's not a perfect source of whatever, but if you wish to get the stack, hypothetically, those things may work. This is not advice, allegedly, way better if you have, say you're doing a microdose of some fancy special mushrooms. And I do mean a microdose. So that means, 0.14 to 0.3, maybe that's about a microdose. 5.5 for some people. If you're taking about a gram, who you fooling? You ain't fooling me. You just want to enjoy it. Great. I got nothing against that, my friend. So the psilocybin has, and this is why I'm a proponent of the whole mushroom versus the people who just take like the molecule extracted, which is I think a sin against God, if God's real or any of that stuff. But I think it's a sin against the natural medicine or the plant teacher, the plant master, if you wish, the fungi master, that the spirit that exists behind this physical thing that we are eating and ingesting. If you have done mushrooms, you know what I am talking about. Anti-uncle mushroom, pretty groovy. Why do I call it anti-uncle mushroom? Well, because mushrooms have like 26 different genders, and it gets really, really confusing. I'm not a fungologist, so I'm just going to leave it there. Do your homework. Check it out. Research. It's fun. So, people back in the day, they're falling off horses. You're getting in fights. You may be a battle or a skirmish. You got waylaid by some bandits. You got hit in the head. You wake up 6 hours later in the fucking river. People used to get head injuries so much more casually. I mean, there was a period of time where I think one of the leading causes of death was drunkenly falling off a ladder. I remember reading that in an encyclopedia about like the 1500s or the 1600s. I think that's what it was. I think at one point in England, the leading cause of death was falling off a ladder and hitting your head. Or falling off a horse, hitting your head and dying. Like, whoa, rickety, shit, stove. All the time. So now, roll with me, the expert, that a lot of people just used to casually get head injuries, way more common than now. Now, what does that mean for us? Well, when you have a head injury, or maybe autism is some sort of proto-protective element to head injuries. Because if people are born with a greater number of neural synaptic connections or a inefficient inbuilt mechanism for pruning those things once you get a little older, and or whatever actually is the underlying mechanical cause of autism, I think one reason why we are seeing such a stark rise in autism is because people are getting head injuries way less. Like, especially nowadays. Kids are not running around. They're not, they're getting on the iPad instead of getting bored and falling backwards and, hitting their head on the shopping cart. Like, I think, there's a lot less roughhouse. There's a lot less rough play. I remember getting a fucking detention when I was in school for like touching a friend and like lightly pushing him, and then the TA yard duty, Mrs. Freed, which I'm not outing that person. Technically, it's dead naming because I don't think she's alive anymore. She was in her late 70s or early 80s when I was a child, which in retrospect, I'm like, you're too old. And now as some 30-something, I'm like, how did you make it that far smoking that many cigarettes all the time? And you were still up and mobile? Who knows? Maybe she was like 58 and I was just really not understanding what cigarettes do to your body as you age. But, I mean, I didn't even mean to finish that. So what is that going to do to me as I age? I'm almost finished with it. It's weird. It's gross. I don't really like it, but it's addicting and I have to drink more of it. It is better than White Monster, though. I will say that. It's better than White Monster. So, yeah. People used to get tons of head injuries. Way more often. Way more commonly than now. We did not have tons of autism back in the day. Or people self-diagnosing autism. We'll get to that in a second. People self-diagnosing the autism and all these other things, I think is kind of you could call it the cult of neurodivergence. A lot of people just want to be a part of the cult of neurodivergence because it's like, hey, if I don't belong to the normies, well, at least I belong to this group of people over here. And it's a group of people that is collecting on the internet and sharing stories and, hey, this is my new flavor of autism and this is my new flavor of ADHD and all these things. Why? Because we're all unique in that capacity, and because of the rise of psychopharmaceutical companies and psychopharmaceuticals as drugs and profit incentives and margins to be met for the shareholders so that they can get bigger and bigger islands to abuse the children on. I'm not even allegedly on it. Fuck you guys. Piece of shit. Fucking nearly destroyed my life more than once. If you're a chronically ill American, you know what I'm talking about. The fucking road through medicine is fucking hell. Oh my God, the gaslighting. They almost took my fucking gallbladder and part of my liver. I was 19. That did not need to happen. Thankfully, I stuck to my guns and I didn't do it, but fuck the pain. When your gallbladder is closing and squeezing around gallstones or trying to push out the gallstones, I had a woman who was a medical doctor who had 4 kids naturally tell me that her gallstones hurt worse than her childbirth. So I know what I'm talking about when I say I have experienced high levels of pain. According to a woman who has had 4 children, the gallbladder squeezing is more painful than childbirth. Feel free to disagree with her. I'm going to take that little tidbit and run with it, because when I had gall attacks, it was a pain that I would describe as religious, because it was so extreme. I couldn't do anything. You're just like, oh, and at the time, family and friends were like, Austin, I think you're just belly aching. I think you just need to move around more. I think you just need to do this, that, the other. And meanwhile, I'm like, I'm in so much pain. I can't cry. I can't speak. All I can do is marvel at how much pain I'm in. Just wonder, oh my God, this is real. This is real. Holy shit, I didn't even know you could be in this much pain. I thought if you were in this much pain, you were essentially catatonic instead of fucking paralyzed by it. It was an awful religious experience. It made college kind of difficult. But, oh well, that is my privilege. I got to go to college. Yeah, and I wasted it by going to fucking film school. Much good that's done me here. At least I can have some nice lighting. At least I figured that out. I probably could have figured that out with fucking college. I was supposed to fucking screenwriter. I was supposed to get the good job. I was supposed to get in there and be like, look at me, mogging the chin. Be like, no, and I don't even want to be an actor. I want to be a writer. So that means that because I'm not trying to be an actor, you'll take me a little more seriously. Fuck out of here. Speaking of gaslighting, oh my God, the gaslighting, disappointment, fucking betrayal, I got all of it. And I never even got a single fucking credit. And in retrospect, there are a couple people that I could have maybe gotten some credits through because of work I did for them or work I did to help them. And just like a Hollywood experience, they kind of ignored it, or they didn't know that they could have done that for me, or it just looked so much better that they came up with all that stuff on their own. But that's Hollywood for you. So, yes, here we are. Barely scratching the surface of the cult things. But yeah, that we kind of meandered mostly because I've been thinking about that autism theory where I'm like, I don't have science to back this. I just have a thought. I have a dream. I have my own personal experience and what I can weigh against other people in my family who have not had as many head injuries that also have some sort of autistic traits, probably not full-blown autism, but certainly, you know, if they were to go and get a diagnosis, they would probably get something similar to myself. It's like, oh, is that why we're seeing the rise of the autisms? Because no one's getting head injuries anymore? Because we didn't really know how many head injuries people were getting once upon a time because we didn't really keep track. We didn't really know what the difference was between a minor concussion, a major concussion, and a TBI. Now we do. So, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like recording this podcast, I've recently received another concussion. It's just like, oh God, we are retarded. We are special. Oh boy. If only I was gay. That would make things so much easier. But maybe I am just gay and retarded. Maybe I just need to accept it and just be a gay retarded man. I can get there with the retarded. Unfortunately, I can't get there actually with the gay. Which kind of makes me sad. Not really, but like, I have gay friends and we all laugh because, you know, it's the current thing for straight guys to be like, oh, my life would be so much better if I was gay. And many a time we're like, yeah, it probably would be. But I'm one of those guys that would have a completely different life if I was gay. If I was gay, it would be arguably much better. So, ladies, be nice to the knuckleheads. At least the ones that aren't, you know, rapey and abusive, please. Discernment. We all must develop it at some point. And yeah, when we come back, or maybe I'll record another one tomorrow and we'll just do a part 3 and I'll give you guys so much extra content you won't even know what to do with it. But it's essentially a look at like modern, and I mean the most modern version of feminism, and the super ultra modern version of stoic corporate philosophy bullshit that how do I say this? That we've been given cults of containment, cults of conformity, without the religiosity or the religious dogma or the religious reward. One of the reasons why Christianity worked and still works and has worked and will probably continue to work is because of heaven. Because you can forgive yourself for your sins, or you can't forgive yourself of sins, but God can, or Jesus can. And if you atone for your sins, great, you know, better chance you have of getting into heaven. That is a great way to corral a bunch of cattle that have no capacity to have a moral compass for themselves because they are too animalistically driven. There are a lot of people that I have talked to over the years that are like, well, how do you know rape and murder is bad if you don't have heaven or hell? The fuck? I have an adequate moral compass. I know rape is bad because it's rape. Because you're stealing something from people that don't want to give it up. Because it harms them. I don't need a beautiful hereafter to know not to rape. Like, what the fuck? But I've talked to enough people that they do need that. They absolutely do need hell telling them not to do something, or they will fucking do it. And that's not because they're evil. It's because humans are kind of a disgusting, despicable animal that is much more violent than we in our current civilized capacities like to, you know, acknowledge. So in this modern feminist sixth wave, fifth wave, whatever, and here's the thing, I'm not against feminism. I think feminism is a very important philosophy for bringing us into the future and into the modern age. Feminism originally kind of viewed it as, hey, look, we got to smash the patriarchy and we got to like deal with these uncomfortable systems because it's just keeping a ton of human potential down, and that's waste. That's useless. That's waste. Let's let talented people, skilled people, visionaries, whatever, let them work. Great. I don't see the fucking problem with that. Let them fight. You want to go and join the military? Great. I don't think we have a free and equal society until we also have a female draft. You heard me, ladies. I send that shit away. Do you have to go into a frontline position? No. No, because if we just get rid of all the baby makers, then we have no babies, and that's really, really bad. And there's a historical precedent for when too many women die in war, what it does to the population of that country. And I'll give you the answer. It's really bad. One of those things that precipitates usually the collapse of an empire or country is a lot of women dying to, say, a famine, a war, or something where they cannot produce more citizens or more members of the tribe, whatever. But, you know, you can do logistics. You can drive trucks. You can launch drones. You know, you still want to be in that kinetic killing field? Great. Be a drone pilot. So all you ladies out there playing video games and learning how to fly the dragons and doing all these things, you're probably in a better position to do some cool fuck shit if World War III pops off than your friends that are just not doing that. You don't want to get a gun and just for the state? Great, pick up a controller. Training for drone warfare. Fuck. It's almost like everything in that world is a psyop, and all the video games were just some long, complicated way to get us to be skilled at war in some capacity, so that when some fuck shit inevitably happens where they got to bring back a draft, they get to shorten the operational window, or the window in which people become operationally capable, by a couple weeks, with 20 years of video games instruction into their minds. So the feminism, and why I don't want to just pick on women with this, because I think it's just the feminine coded version of the male heavy, not centric, but male heavy, corporate stoic leader, where it's this circumcised sort of stoicism that's removed from the love of friends, love of duty, love of, you know, civil service, and not even like a love of that, but like you, because you love your fellows, because you love your friends, because you love your family, because you love your clan, because you love your tribe, because whatever, you invest in civil duty because it helps you create a better country, nation for your people. And that requires often to push down your own personal feelings, because that would get in the way of both your long-term health and happiness, because someone might just fucking stab you because of your outburst, because it's fucking Rome in AD 20. We'll just pull that one out of a hat because we were using Christ stuff earlier. It was around the time of Jesus. You really needed to like button shit up. Or because if you had an outburst at the wrong person, how dare you do this, you stupid, silly little Aramaic, blah, blah, blah. And you're dead. You've just been knifed in an alley, your last breath full of fish guts. That probably happened a lot. That probably happened so much that when Marcus Aurelius wrote about getting cucked out by a gladiator fucking his wife, he was like, oh shit, I need to like not do this stuff. And we need to figure some other thing out. Well, that's my time. Part 3 coming, maybe tomorrow, maybe not, Maybe I need to keep upgrading and adding to these things because I still can't use my fucking iPad and screen mirror it. Please help me with this production stuff, 'cause God knows I fucked it up. Whew. And I'm getting doggedly beaten down in the algorithm as far as that stuff. If I do post clips or do any of that stuff, they perform terribly. So obviously I need to just do everything better, or frankly, I might scrap this whole project soon and focus back on the book because this is killing me. So that said, the corporate structure thingy, it's male Roman coded feminism. Oh, smash this, smash that. No, you're missing the point. The point is that you have problems. You are going to ignore most of those problems as either a problem within your psyche, as something that probably is not a problem within your psyche. I know a lot of people who are depressed these days, they're impressed because their environment is shit and it sucks. And we're divorced from all these natural processes that our bodies like actually need. Or else we end up with zoo animal depression. Like, there's been times in my life where I've been very depressed. And then because of life and things that happen to me and blah, blah, blah. And you end up in the dumps. You end up melancholic and blue. And then there's other times where I'm like, I don't think I'm depressed. I think I've got the zoo animal depression. It makes everything else worse. So instead of acknowledging that you're in a fucking zoo, modern feminism and this modern corporate stoicism are both doing some version of ignore the actual zoo. For feminism, focus on the zookeepers. It's their fault. Your keeper's fault. It's their fucking fault. The patriarchy. The ones who control the zoo. Instead of recognizing that you're in a fucking zoo and that there's so many more problems than just this. And then just screaming about this is not getting you out. It's getting you further entrenched in the system so that you can be a good worker. Know a lot more women that are in their 40s or their 50s or the 60s that regret how much time they spent working. A lot. It is not an uncommon thing. And some of those women that, are breadwinners for their families, all this stuff, they can only really do it because their husband was willing to go house husband stuff. Great. Good for them. Nothing wrong with that. But most people, you need that double stream of income, especially these days in America. Oof. And the corporate stoicism goes, ignore it all. Focus on your grind. Focus on only the things that you can control. And it's like, hold on. Part of the point of community, and even the original point, or part of the original point of stoicism, is that by shedding your need to have some crazy emotional outburst over something, you can see more clearly the evidence that you need to, the cause and effect of things that allows you to choose a course of action that is best for you, especially when you're having to choose paths of action in the face of shit you cannot control. Like a bunch of German savages coming out of the hills to eviscerate you and all your Roman friends. Whereas the modern corporate stoicist would go, well, just what if you ignore it and go into transcendental meditation for 4 hours while the barbarians just murder everyone? Then you're really, that's you controlling you. Hope for the best. Ignore the fact that everyone else is getting stabbed to death around you. And please, please, please gaslight yourself as much as possible that any negative feeling you're having while you're watching people get eviscerated by German savages all around you, ignore any negative feeling. That is you gaslighting yourself with sadness. You don't need that sadness. Just do a cold plunge. Get your nervous system right. Get your dopamine going. Get your serotonin going. Get your 15 minutes of sunlight. Make sure you retard max. Guys, when something bothers us, titanically, immensely, and we don't know what to do because it is something that is so grand and massive and out of our control. Say, like the Epstein files, and that Epstein was this sheriff to the uber wealthy, the most financially hoarded members of people that basically live in their own government world that is above nationalistic government. No doubt about that, above nationalistic government. It just is what it is. And so we need to identify a couple things. One is, guys, if you can't control something and it's really bothering you, organize. Organize with other people. Talk to other people. Tell them what is bothering you. Communicate with your community. And you might be shocked as to what happens. Remember how there's been no major Epstein anything? No protest, no march on Congress, no calls to Congress, no congressional anythings. One of the few guys that was actually trying to do something about the Epstein files and getting them released to the people, or getting people outed as being part of it, especially if they were doing anything that involved crimes against children. We're just going to ignore all that, push it to the side, and yeah, we're just gonna focus on like our grind set and focus on our like coffee Instagram, and like I've really started this new like brewing thing with my kombucha, and I'm really excited about like maybe trying out some mead. You deserve your prison, Goy. You deserve your prison. If you're not willing to move, to talk, to communicate, to educate, Goyim, you deserve to be cattle. You deserve the cattle lines and everything that comes with that. But sadly, unfortunately, it's where you come full circle and you're looking at certain people and you're like, oh shit, you need bumpers. But we lack the reward. It's all just self-focused, all these modern cults. Just focus on yourself as much as possible. Don't create a community. And if you want community, find a community online. They can be infiltrated. They can be dissected. They can be commoditized. That can be quantified by our AIs, by our programs, by our vicious reptiles. Yeah, I'm talking about Peter Thiel. Don't have conversations with people not on your cell phone. No, ew. Don't have conversations with people in real life. Don't go out camping with people and put all your phones somewhere where, yeah, you can hear it ring, but y'all can have an unfettered conversation. I think the microscope, the observance in which we are all stuck under with our cell phones is doing very bad things to our brains. It's doing bad things to our fucking souls, the intangible bullshit that is. And we all feel it. We all know it. We're all waiting for the other shoe to drop and for something to just actually be surveilling us all day, every day. But it's already here. It's the Wi-Fi. It's our cell phones. It's every little bit of digital feedback we give the internet. But they haven't won. No. If they actually won, they wouldn't be trying so hard to convince us that they're winning.